Okay, it's welded. I'm not gonna grind it now. And I think now, instead of working this way, I think I'm gonna rebuild this part first because it's a complicated shape. I'd like to make this part first so I can match this part to this part. Because if I make this part first, which is pretty straightforward, then I'm gonna have to match this part to that part, and this is already a complicated part. So let's build this first. It looks like it is complicated, but it's not, because that's what it is. On this side you can see it. It's like a triangle which has a flange that way and a flange this way. That's all. And a little bit of bend at the end. So let me try and make that first. So we need to bend this down. And you may find yourself with a beautiful part. And you may ask yourself, well, how did we get here? And I may tell you, that's a good question. Well, we just experienced what I call the reverse recording syndrome that is very well known in the Rusty Beauty's garage. And this does not mean that I'm recording in reverse. This means that I'm recording when I think I'm not, and I'm not recording when I think I am. I position the camera and I forget to press the recording button, and then I do what I'm supposed to do in camera, and then when I'm done I go and I press the button and the camera just starts recording now. Then I move the camera around the shop, I position it for the next shop, and now I press to start recording, but the camera was recording so far, so now I just turned the camera off. That's how I end up with this beautiful footage of moving the camera around, setting it up, and then when the fun is supposed to start, shut. Black screen. And this is how we found ourselves with this beautiful part without having the footage of how we made it. So now I'm gonna try to explain here a little bit how I made it. So it's very simple. I just made two bend lines, one here and one here, and that's it. But in order to make the bends a little bit round, I broke each bend into multiple smaller bends, you know what I mean? And this is how I found myself with this beautiful part. And yes, this is that discarded sill end cap that I couldn't use, because recycling is king. So let's see what else we need to do with this part to make it fit nicely. So it needs to shrink here. That's why we're gonna do it slowly, and we're gonna give it time to shrink. I think that's pretty good. Let's take a look in the car. All right, so the cross member is out, and now we have more access to this to work. And I think now we're gonna start trimming it so we can fit it under. And I think, somewhere here, we're gonna cut it like this, and then we're gonna have to trim also something here in order to fit it under there. But let me cut this first, and then we'll see the rest. There you go. Okay, so now I don't want to get rid of this flange here. Maybe later when we're working on this repair and underneath, but for now I'm just gonna trim it like I said here. So maybe we should cut this like this and like this, and in the meantime cut this here like this so we can fit it under. Okay, so I trimmed it here and I bent it a little bit to match more or less that curve, and I think that's perfect. The problem is we have nothing to weld it. Yeah, I'm gonna tack it right here, and maybe this corner here eventually. And now we can go and mark this. That's where we can cut this one. That's it. I just want it to be there so I have an idea about this other patch which is gonna be like this. I marked it already. So it looks like this. Now we're gonna have to start trimming it. So I'm just gonna put it above there, and we're gonna just transfer it like this. Maybe we should go a little bit further back. So we're gonna transfer this line here, and then from there somehow needs to be something like that. But we have to trim the rear end as well. So no, actually like this, so we don't need to trim both ends. We're eventually gonna have to trim the other end as well, but yeah, so this is where we're gonna do the cut, and then something like that. Well, actually, we needed a little curve there. Okay, maybe we can shrink this here. Let's try on the shrinker. Maybe we can give this a little radius. So it curves it here, but for whatever reason this doesn't follow. That's fine, we're gonna force it. Here, this end also needs to curve a little bit because it's holding this too high. Okay, so that end starts looking good. So let's trim this one a little bit more. It's like literally here where we already marked it. And I think now here we are touching to this. The thing is the top end is not following the bottom end, so we need to force it like this, and then everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be alright. So you see this curve is pretty much okay. This is what we need, more or less. How's that? That's actually not bad. Actually, that's how we want it, right? So we just need to cut it a little bit more here. Like this. I like it. So now we're gonna mark a line somewhere here, and then coming to somewhere here. A straight line now from there to here should give us a straight line. That won't work. That maybe. Just to mark where to cut it, I think we're more than okay. Okay, makes sense. All right, let me cut it carefully, but you're on my way. So I'm gonna cut it carefully because I don't want to damage the lines underneath. So if we put it there too much and here too much, somewhat, it is pretty good. Here the gap is a little bit too big. I don't know if this is a straight line. Here this needs to be a straight line, right? Yeah, it is a straight line. So we're gonna have to fill this gap a little bit with weld, but I think it's pretty good. We just have to form it as we go. Anyways, I'm gonna start tacking it. I'm gonna put you away because probably you're gonna be on my way. Well, I'll keep you here, but probably in the most cases you're gonna see my head. Okay, I hear you, and I agree. It's too close to the fuel line, so I'm not gonna weld it now. We're gonna finish this weld whenever we take the body off the frame. But at least now we have solid pieces all over here, so we can start making our floor. From here all the way to there, make our ribs, make our floor drop. Even though I'm not really happy to do a floor drop without having the sill here, but hey, oh, by the way, we ordered the sill. You know what, I think I'm gonna cut this out and use it as a template, but first I'm gonna remove the harness because we are having troubles here. It's a big thing actually, this harness. It's complicated to remove it, but we will have to, because otherwise we might damage it. Okay, so just for the record, the rear harness, this is where it's plugged in. It goes behind the A-post all the way down, and then it travels inside this channel. See here. And then from here, there's another channel, and then it goes inside the B-post. From the B-post it goes up inside there somehow around the wheel well, and then it comes on this side behind the wheel well, keeps traveling here, and it comes out of this hole here. So, and then from this hole it splits into the two tail lights, and etc, etc. Okay, I'm in trouble. So I pulled the rear harness all the way to the B-post here, but now it is stuck here. I can't go in or out, something is stuck behind. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out this patch now. I have to take it out anyways, and instead of taking it out, actually I'm just gonna cut it here, because here we're gonna replace this piece, and we will see what's going on inside. I'm just gonna be careful not to cut any wires, right? There you go. Open sesame. So this is what was getting stuck over there, and I couldn't. Hi. Hi. Okay. He's jealous. He's jealous. Watch your tail. He's gonna clean there with his tail. Well, that was fun. It's all out, but look at that. Even with this open, still it was fun taking it out. I'm pretty sure that in the factory they run the harness before they even install this fender. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. It's not possible that you can run it this way. Anyways, we're gonna think about that when the time comes, but look at that. Cut wires, spliced stuff here. What did they do here? They take from the reverse light, they took power for the backup camera. Anyways, we're gonna have to figure it out when the time comes. Alright, so it's the next day, and I was thinking I don't have a big enough piece of metal for the whole piece here, because we need to start somewhere here all the way to there, and it's gonna be tricky to make all the ribs and everything. So you know what, I'm thinking I'm gonna make a piece of metal from here to here. Like, we're gonna see where we're gonna cut it. I just cleaned it up a little bit. I think we're gonna cut it somewhere here, and we're gonna make this one first with the floor drop on this side, because we still have where the floor was. Without the sill it is gonna be risky, but if we have to move the flange at the end, we're gonna move it. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm gonna cut only this part here off now, We're gonna make this channel again. We wanna make it because this is where the harness travels, right? This one, you see this rib ends here anyway, so we're just gonna make it end here wherever we cut it. But this one we're gonna extend, I guess, to the other side, and we will see what we're gonna do about it. All right, so this is my piece of metal that I'm gonna try and make the channel on. I already tried to make a channel like this, and it worked pretty much okay. So let's try and work on here though. Not sure it's gonna work well because this one is straight, but and I made it in a very weird way, but let me show you. I made it with my bead roller. Ta-da! So anyways, it's a new thing. I need to modify it because the way it comes, it's super flimsy. Like, for example, look at this. This is super unacceptable. So we're gonna modify it. I've done this before. I can put a link here to that video where I modified one of these at work. So now I just bought this one and I just need to use it now. So don't criticize me for anything. I know everything is wrong, but whatever. Before you reach for that keyboard and tell me that I can motorize it, I know that there are kits available. I know that there are ways to motorize it. To be honest, I'm not interested in motorizing it because I can have perfect control here if I do it manually. I just have to get rid of this handle because I don't like handles. I need to put something like a steering wheel to turn it. I'm not gonna motorize it. Let me show you something. Like if you leave it like this, so this bolt is tight and the handle stays, but then you loosen this bolt and the handle does that. What happens if your fingers are down there right at this moment, right? I don't like this idea at all, but this is the way I'm gonna use it. For now, I'm gonna modify it. Second, I know that these are shear dies here. They are to cut metal, they are not to make channels. But I rounded this edge a little bit and I put some spacers here, so now they are not close to each other. They have some room here, and I use these to make stuff like this. For example, I did a quick trial. We're gonna work on that later. But with narrow dies like that, it is easy to make a turn. Where I have these, for example, these are 1/4 inch or 1/8. They can do the same job what I'm trying to do here, but you can't make such a narrow turn. You need narrow dies like this. So I modified this. I don't want to use it to cut metal. I want to use it to create beads. For this channel though, I know there are dies available. I have these dies, but this is my biggest bead that I can do, and it is far from being deep enough. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mark the two lines. We're gonna make it flat in the middle, and then we're gonna go and we're gonna hammer it down to the shape that we want. That's the stupid part with these. They don't give you mounting points. It's supposed to be clamped on a vise. Like, okay, that's half of the job. The rest we're gonna do manually. And now we're gonna try to straighten it on the planishing hammer or maybe on the English wheel. I don't know. Let's try the planishing hammer first. So I'm trying to, here in the corner, to push down on this side. In this inner corner, you know? It's almost there. I know if I have the correct dice for my planishing hammer, I can do all that on the planishing hammer, I guess. But I don't. So slowly we're gonna get everything we need. It's a little bit too wide, so I'm gonna go on the English wheel and try to make it narrower. Okay, I have this reinforcement piece underneath that somebody put at some point, but it was exactly where the flange was for the floor drop, so I'm keeping it here for now for reference. So first we're gonna cut this line, we're gonna make this channel, and then we're gonna cut this line. Ooh, it's not too bad. It's not bad at all. We need to shave it a little bit here. I'm gonna clamp it now properly because I want to mark where to make the bend underneath. Again, that's a very scary moment. I'm gonna mark it from underneath. Because if this bend is not on the right place, then our entire seal, inner seal, outer seal, strengthener piece, everything is going to be in the wrong place. Again, when the seal comes, if this is wrong, we're just going to make a cut here and we're going to move it. Okay. Looks like that's how it needs to be, because I don't know how far you see, but here we're pretty good, here we're pretty good, and all the way over there at the front, even there we're touching the front of the floor that we made. Okay, that's how it's gonna be. Okay, so it's welded, I mean it's tucked in place. So we decided that we're not gonna weld everything, we're just gonna tuck everything, like there, like here. Now next one is gonna be this piece, but we're gonna leave everything just tucked, because if this flange is not in the right place, we're gonna be in trouble. You see how much I'm stressing about it? So next I'm just gonna cut this off, and it's held only in that corner, everything else is cut by now. So we're gonna cut this off, we're gonna take it out, we're gonna use it as a template, we're gonna make something that's more or less with this shape, ribs and stuff. Doesn't necessarily need to be the exact same. And then we're gonna replace this part as well. By the way, today it is 18 degrees or something like that, Celsius, which is I don't know what in Fahrenheit. But I have the garage door open, finally. We have the Miata over there, we have my tent with few cars inside as well, but just look here how much snow we still have. That's from where it was falling from the tent and from the roof of the garage. Well, now you've seen my backyard. The dog made a mess of it, right, dog? Dog, Rusty, what's happening, buddy? Okay. Shut. Hey, quiet, I'm trying to record a video. So I'm gonna align this line with this channel, and that's gonna determine where the piece is gonna be. And now I'm gonna mark where my bend is gonna be, more or less, here. And then on the other side, I'm gonna mark this line, and that's exactly where I'm gonna terminate the flanges, the ribs, because I'm gonna trim this back a little bit later, maybe an inch. So we're gonna have our weld an inch away from here, so here we can end our ribs. Okay, that's all the information I needed. This is where I marked for the flange. Again, I mean, we're not gonna bend it now, we're gonna bend it at the end, we're gonna mark it more precisely, but for now it is more or less where it's gonna be. So we're gonna stop this, maybe this far from the flange. And this, oh, we don't have so much room here actually. I thought we were gonna make the weld an inch away from here, but we don't have so much room, so maybe that's where the weld is gonna be. So I'm gonna terminate these here, this far. Doesn't really matter, you know. Yes. Alright, it started pretty much okay. Not too bad. Like, it's shallow, but it is what it is. The thing is though, it started becoming wider and wider, and at some point here, look how wide it became. And I couldn't understand why. But then I look at the dice, and look how far apart they are. But I still have the spacers here in the back, so the problem is not here. The problem is here. The whole bottom shaft moved. You see that? Oh, isn't that stupid? Oh, ruined my piece. So now I'm gonna take it to the English wheel. I'm gonna flatten most of it, like all the way to here, I guess, and then we're gonna start again. Alright, that was crazy. I think it's not too bad. I mean, okay, don't look at these lines. These are, initially I drew the pattern on this side and it was wrong. I needed it on this side. So anyways, I don't think it's too bad. However, it's not what I wanted. Like, it is too wide. The flange here is too wide, and that's because this constantly moves like this or like this, and this is ridiculous. I have an idea how to fix that. I have another body for a bead roller that Eugene gave me, my friend Eugene gave me, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just double this up. I'm not gonna weld it to this one, but I'm gonna put spacers like this, and I'm gonna weld another body next to it, and that's gonna make it super solid, and it's not gonna be able to do that anymore, because that's crazy. Yeah, we'll see. So far, I mean, that's not too bad. So now we just have to see if we can make it flat again, because it is, one side is gonna work because we're gonna have to bend the flange. We'll see the other side. The problem is that everything is shrunk here in the middle, and the edges are not shrunk. So here, this center is shrunk like this, you know? I don't know if I try and shrink the edge. No, because this whole entire thing needs to shrink. Let me try though. I'll try and shrink this edge and see what's gonna happen. see, it makes it better, but still, it needs to shrink also this way. So now we have to make this channel deeper, and you know what's gonna happen, right? That's gonna bend it this way, but we're gonna work it out. Okay, well, that's how far I can go. It's not perfectly flat, but it can be pushed flat. And if you know what I mean, I can push it flat, but it won't stay. So let's put it underneath and see what it looks like in the car. I'm gonna bend the flange where we marked it before, because it is actually pretty well matching. So here, see, this is where we marked it, and it matches our other flanges, and this still matches here. So I'm gonna bend the flange, and that's gonna keep this side straight. I'm thinking maybe I should even bend the flange on the other side to keep it straight, so I can mark it, and then we're gonna cut it. All right, doesn't look bad. What do you think? There it matches the flange. Here it matches the flange of this piece. It has ribs, it has everything. Almost like original. But I'm tired, so I'm gonna go have a dinner and then a beer or two, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so it's the day after and we're refreshed and back. So at the beginning, I'm gonna take it off again. I'm gonna square this, because here we have crazy shapes, so I'm gonna square this. I'm gonna square it there as well. Maybe not actually. There's nothing wrong with that. We can mark it like this and like this and like this, and yeah, and then we're gonna put it back. We're gonna mark it. We're gonna take it off again. We're gonna cut it. We're gonna put it back on. We're gonna tack it, and we're not gonna weld it. Once it is tucked in place, we're gonna continue maybe with this part of the floor, so we can go all the way to the back, maybe. We will see. Let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's do this part first. Okay, I cut it, and you see now this end is hanging down, but it fits. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack it wherever I can, wherever the two layers are leveled, like here, here, and wherever they match. And then I'm gonna just keep pushing it up and or down or whatever, keep lining them up and tacking wherever I can, and that should work. Let's see. Okay, it's all tucked in. There's a little bit too big gap there, but we're gonna have to figure out how to weld it. Everything else is pretty good. Even here, now it matches. And the sides here match. So I'm happy. It looks like the original floor, doesn't it? Anyways, but you know, so I'm gonna leave it only tucked in. I'm not gonna weld anything permanently here, even though that's pretty permanent, but if I have to cut it, it's gonna be much easier to cut it than if it is welded all the way. So I'm gonna leave it until we have the seal, and once we have the seal, we're gonna confirm that everything is in the right place, and only then we're gonna weld it. You stay out of my shot, please. But you know, without the seal, I don't really feel confident continuing here, on this side, because if I build stuff on the wrong place, it's gonna be unreversible. So I'm just gonna leave it as is right now, and we're gonna end this video here, and in the next one we're gonna probably go and fix this part, because this is pretty irrelevant to this. As long as we don't need to do anything on the wheel arch, I think we're pretty good. For here we have all the parts and we can do this repair. So for this reason, we're gonna cut this video here, even though the floor is not quite ready yet. But I guess we have more than enough footage for one video anyways. So as usual guys, thanks for watching, thanks for commenting and subscribing, thanks for supporting the channel on Patreon and via PayPal. I really appreciate that you do that, even though you're not gaining any additional benefits to the channel. And you know very well that I don't give you anything, not because I don't want to give you anything, but because I don't want to take away from the people who choose not to support the channel, or they just can't afford it. So everybody has the same access here, whether they support the channel financially or not. So on that note, if you're not supporting the channel financially and you decide that you can do so even though you're not gonna get any additional benefits, you can do that by going down into the description of this video. You're gonna find there a link to my Patreon page, and you can see there 3 different ways of supporting the channel financially. And if you want to make just a one-time donation, you can send a PayPal transfer to elin.yakov at trustybeauties.com. That's gonna work as well. But again, you don't need to do that in order to get any additional benefits. So with that said guys, I'm gonna sign off and I'll see you in the next video.